Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to day 3 of IAB UK Audio Week. Today is the creative workshop. If you joined us on Monday, you'd have heard that we got stuck into the insights. We heard lots of research around what's been happening in the past 18 months in lockdown and how audio behaviours have changed, what's new, where we've reverted to things, the old normal, if you like. And then yesterday we changed gears, we looked to the future. We got 5 different perspectives on what the future of digital audios look like. We covered privacy, podcasting, personalization, and everything in between. But today we are here to show you exactly what good looks like, what innovative, creative can look like, what brilliant partnerships can look like, and to really share what the very best of our audio members have to offer. There is so much ground to cover in the next hour. We're going to hear from 8 members, from Bauer, from Wix, Number 8, A Million Ads, and Tonos, Octave, Veritonic, and Red Apple Creative. And we're going to dart around from the opportunity with HFSS, what a brilliant audio partnership looks, sounds, and feels like. We're going to talk about innovation, and we're going to talk about or follow an ad campaign through an audio day as well. So there's loads and loads and loads to pack in 4 15-minute sessions. If you've got questions, we're going to try and squeeze them in. If you can ask them as we go, then we'll pause after each session and we'll ask there. But none of this, of course, could be possible without our partners, Spotify, who have sponsored Audio Week this year. And if you want a tip, which I gave on Monday, is Bad Blood, the final chapter, which is the whole story around Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, the company that were touted for greatness but went bust. She's due in court in the next week or so. It's a brilliant, brilliant podcast that you can find on Spotify. New episodes out every Thursday, so you can tune into that tomorrow. And if that's not enough, you should be tuning into the IAB UK podcast, because we've got a special episode tomorrow that rounds off Audio Week in conversation with Audio Mob, talking about the real value of audio in-game, particularly when it comes to mobile. But back to today, and all that's really left for me to do is to hand over to Lucy Cave from Bauer, who's going to talk about their amazing decade-long partnership with Wix. So Lucy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, James. So I was just turning on my video. So as relationships go, this one has recoupled time and time again. And we're proud to say that Bauer and Wix are now in our 10th year together. What started a decade ago as a straightforward radio sponsorship has developed into a gold standard multimedia partnership and one of the longest standing audio campaigns in the UK. Digital innovation over the past few years has allowed us to move from first base, a sponsorship on FM radio, to getting right into bed with each other. And FYI, Wix do a lovely rattan garden day bed with a canopy for £800 if you're interested. You need one on a day like today. We've built an exciting campaign across audio, social, digital channels, smart speakers, and many of our different Bauer brands, from competitions to on-air shout-outs, to pranks, to pop-up stations, events, to new product launches, and bespoke paint. We've had it all. So let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Dave Berry from the Dave Berry Breakfast Show with Wix, and we are celebrating 10 years together. One of my favourite things that we've done together is definitely ticking a massive life box that I didn't even know I needed ticking, and that was for me to have my own paint. And thanks to Wix, the Dave Berry Breakfast Show paint was born, my favourite ever shade of blue. Since the pandemic, having Wix as friends has meant we've been able to reward truly deserving people in the communities. In fact, we were able to launch the Good Deeds Register, and we were able to help one listener by the name of Terry, who was brave enough to come on the Breakfast Show and tell us about her incurable cancer and just how she wanted to create as many memories as she possibly could for her young family. And it's lovely to see that in the last few years, Wix have become friends with some of our friends too.
Hello there, Madge from Kiss here. I've been in my rave shed building you an incredible Kiss remix with Wix Trade Pro. Want to enjoy the mix? Swipe up now.
So, Wix, Happy 10 years together, and here's to the next decade.
Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Dave Berry. And it is my pleasure to introduce Paul Sylvester, Content Director at Absolute Radio, Rebecca Frank, Content Director for KISS, and Shelley Ellison, Head of Marketing for Wix. Hi, guys.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
So, I mean, that video is brilliant. I don't know what Dave did at the end with the end of that camera once it stopped rolling. But let's start with you, Paul, because we've had an amazing 10 years. What is the first standout, fun or crazy thing that pops into your mind when you think of this partnership? And secondly, is there anything that you've thought, oh, there's no way we can pull this off?
I guess that the first thing that I've really loved was the kind of Wix fixes that we do every year, where we're either helping families to renovate their homes and gardens, or community projects. And about 3 or 4 years ago, it was all about community projects, and it was won by a school, and we helped to renovate their school hall with Wix. And we managed to get Kasabian to play their school assembly to launch the new hall. And it was the morning that Kasabian had just got a #1 album. Not sure they'd been to bed the night before. So we've got a live breakfast show OB with a really drunk / hungover band playing live to a bunch of 11 to 15-year-olds, their #1 songs, which obviously we had to censor in places as well. So I think that was one of those moments of, are we actually doing this? Is this really happening? And I guess the other one for me is the paint, you know, actually having available a tin of Dave Berry Breakfast Show Blue paint. But I think that those are kind of two of the things that really show that this is a partnership of beyond credits and trails and mentions and things. It's about getting out there and doing fun stuff that's not been done before.
And what's your favorite thing about working with each other? Shelley, I'll go to you first.
Oh, I think we're so lucky. We have such an amazing team, and it is really the people that we get to work with across this partnership, through obviously all of the on-air team, all the way through to the guys behind the scenes, putting all of the ideas and the plans together. It really, we are very well supported, and we have an amazing group of people that we work with. And, you know, coming back to the things that I've really enjoyed, I think the paint is brilliant. You'll have seen on the reel, Dave did an actual illustration with his paint. It's got a name, and the name of it was A Naked Being Dancing Wildly and Freely Around the Candlelight of Destiny.
That's
which, you know, of course it is. It's brilliant though.
Brilliant. And what is the secret ingredient then to such a successful relationship, Paul?
I think it's trust, and I think it's about the longevity of the relationship. The kind of the shorthand that we have now, we didn't have 10 years ago, and I think that's fair to say, and it grows over time. And I think we trust Wix and Wix trust us, and they will give us a brief. And, you know, it's been so much fun over the course of the last, 10 years to try and find new and fun ways to promote laminate flooring, decking, sheds, cladding, loft ladders, and the fact of we've been able to do the fun stuff that is ridiculous. And Shelley and the guys at Wix really trust us. And I think because they know that we're going to do it in a fun way, and we know our audience, and we know how to get the best out of our audience. But I think it is, as Shelley says, it's the collaboration, and it's the fact that it's not just their team briefing our team giving them a response. There's all kinds of different layers and levels of meetings that happen around the partnership. And some of that is just a couple of people catching up. Shelley and I have a session like once every month, once every 6 weeks, that's just us catching up on what both of our kind of brands' plans are, but just talking about the other stuff that's going on in our worlds. And then actually, I think we've both learned and shared ideas that we've taken on outside of this partnership, outside of branded content. And it's just more about actually, how can we improve something in our business that Wix is doing? How can we learn from them? How can they learn from us? And I think that's when it really goes beyond, sponsorship and promotions. And that's the value, I think, in it.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Shelley?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it becomes a true partnership. It is about being able to pick up the phone in those moments when I've got a challenge and I know I can pick up the phone to Paul and say, well, we're having this going on at the moment. What would you recommend? Are there any things that you think you guys can do to support us? And we've done that so many times over the years. Obviously, we've done that a lot more fairly recently with what's been going on in the world. And we really, we have a really strong relationship built on trust. I know I can ask Paul, what is the mood of the nation? What are your listeners telling you? What can we learn from that? And those are conversations that we have frequently as well, which is fantastically helpful.
Now, Rebecca, so Kiss is a new coupling with Wix. What's been the key for you to setting off on the right foot?
I feel like we're the sort of new bit on the side, so I hope we don't break it up. Oh, I like that. That's good. Very Kiss. Yeah, it's been a really, I mean, find me a tradesperson that doesn't have Kisstory on at some point on site. I think it's just felt like such a natural, brilliant opportunity for both of us, hasn't it? And both of the ideas have been really tradesperson sort of focused. You saw a little clip there in the video with Majestic, one of our specialist DJs, doing a rave in a shed and making that content available exclusively sort of via the app and in hidden places on our digital platforms, and also running the Tradesperson of the Year awards, which was really nice because we knew from the sort of handover, as it were, between myself and Paul, I learned a lot from Paul about what was really kind of going on behind the scenes with that relationship with Wix. So I managed to inherit like just great insight from both Shelley and Paul, just because there was that pedigree of relationship already there. So we managed to just get off on the right foot pretty quickly and even get those kind of amazing emotional stories out with Tradesperson of the Year, which wasn't just like Ledge of the Year and who's really good at picking music. You know, we had some amazing stories that came to air, which for our strategy at Kiss at the moment is what we're trying to do more of. So it was totally mutually beneficial from the off. Really good insights that we could pick up from that kind of heritage relationship between, you know, Absolute and Wix, and just an absolute no-brainer with the brand Kisstory in particular. So yeah, it's been great so far. Long may it last.
And Shelley, how has the Wix audience changed over time? Because 10 years is a long time. How have you adapted the campaign to target them?
I mean, Wix, at Wix, we try to be the partner of choice for local trade and home improvers. And we really want to make the nation feel house proud. And I think over recent years, what we've done is we've made sure that we're continuing to talk to those audiences and broaden them out, really, because I think, I think all of us here can safely say that we've probably looked at DIY in a slightly different light over recent years. We've all been at home so much more, and the demands on our homes are far greater now than they ever were before. But that's also sort of sparked interest in people. People are more, they want to have a go more. You're seeing a lot more content out there about people just trying something. And that's meant that we've got this amazing opportunity to go and speak to new audiences who perhaps weren't interested or didn't think they could do DIY. And that is where this partnership has really been able to flourish again, because it's given us a chance to say to the team, okay, we can see more people are becoming interested in this category. How can you help us? Who should we go and speak to, and where? And it's been really exciting.
And that's where the likes of Grazia have come in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've been given a chance to take a step back and speak to the Grazia audience and as we've said, the Kiss audience, and really talk to them about us in a way that they perhaps would never have seen or thought we'd be relevant to them, which has been great.
And let's talk digital innovation now, because obviously over the past decade there's been a lot. How has that benefited the partnership? Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of touched on some of it before.
Yeah.
We've got a very kind of, tough, promiscuous, if you like, audience who are sort of bombarded by choice, with it being the sort of younger end, under 35-year-olds, and actually us right from the off having ideas that were all about pushing the Trade Pro app, and therefore needed kind of content for digital platforms exclusively behind them. Really worked. All the storytelling and soliciting for that sort of human tradesperson of the year sort of stuff, all the shout outs on Kisstory, whatever, were all based on social media and just that everyday interaction, so that Wix and Kiss and Kisstory were just like one and all in your phone, all in one place, all together. So I think without sort of overusing the word innovation, I think just making it a native part of our campaigns has been totally essential from day one. It's not been something we've warmed up to. We've just gone wallop straight into it, and it's been effortless.
And how about for Absolute, Paul?
I think what it's been for us is a couple of things. One is, how do we extend it beyond the Monday to Friday 6 to 10 a.m. partnership? So it's things like partnering with us when we launch things like new app games or new smart speaker games, so that actually people are engaging with breakfast show content outside of the breakfast show, in their kitchens, in their, you know, their lounges, by playing 5 words, 5 grand. And Wix are involved because they're the sponsor of the partner of the smart speaker game. But also it's been around new station launches, new product launches. Last year, at the heart of the first lockdown, when we launched Absolute Radio 40s, our kind of digital pop-up radio station to celebrate VE Day, it was another one of those classic examples of calling Shelley and saying, Shelley, we've got this ridiculous idea. We're going to launch a 1940s radio station a week on Friday, and we want all of the adverts to be vintage, so using modern brands, our current crop of partners, but making all of their ads sound like they're 1940s. And so we'll turn your shed ads into Anderson Shelter adverts, and we'll turn your paint into Union Jack paint, all of this kind of stuff. And you know, again, it's the strength of the partnership is, I give Shelley 60 seconds on the phone and she says, yeah, we've got to be part of this. We've really got to be involved in this. So it kind of goes from beyond the traditional realm of Monday to Friday, 6 to 10, to be in people's homes wherever and whenever they want us.
Yeah, brilliant. Final question now, because I know we're short on time. One's to you, Shelley. Wix has got so much personality. So how does this campaign help give it a voice that helps it stand out from its competitors?
There's 3 different parts to this, I guess. So we're able to deliver our messaging in a really interesting way, in a different way. You know, we've got paid for media that can do it in a certain way, and this enables us to really do it in a way that resonates with listeners and readers, and that makes such a difference. It's also just given us a chance to build relationships. Dave fondly calls us his friends with DIY benefits, and we're happy to take that. We're really happy to take that. And you know, nothing gives me more joy than when you hear a listener play back our strapline or an offer that the guys have been talking about on air. But we, as I touched on earlier, we're able to be flexible and agile, and in the last year that's just been absolutely vital. And you know, I picked the phone up when we were going into lockdown at the beginning and said to Paul, you know, what should we do? What are your listeners saying, and how can we be sensitive to that? And one of the things that sort of came out across those conversations was the good deed register that was mentioned on the reel, you know, which really came from the insight that we were hearing people doing amazing things for others, you know, just really building a collaborative spirit across the nation of people helping each other out. And we could really see that heroes were emerging in different areas. So that gave us the chance to be able to reward that, and equally give people a platform to share those wonderful stories. And you know, that was, oh crikey, sorry. The lights have gone out. I've not moved. I need to move. Can you see me? In the shadows. Yeah, that gave us the chance to do the good deed register and really give people the chance to talk about everything that was going on, and reward them with some money to go and spend at Wix. So yeah, really amazing opportunities that we have across the partnership.
And you do a great line in timers on lights as well, don't you, Shelley?
We do a fantastic line.
Saves the environment and everything.
Lights, as you can see, they work perfectly.
Brilliant. Shelley, Rebecca, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Lots of lessons to be learned there about successful relationships. Hopefully my husband was watching this. Anyway, back to you now, James.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It's such a sort of envious partnership that you've got, and these things, like to do it for 10 years is not easy at all. Paul, I wonder whether you can convert. I'm sort of madly Googling online colour matching tools. Is that Dave Berry Blue on your kitchen cabinets?
No, but I can reveal that this is a Wix kitchen in the Shaker range. This is the Midnight Blue Milton, as paid for and as available at Wix Crawley. I recommend it highly.
Are you on personal commission, Paul? Like what?
Yeah,
no, I promise you I'm not. But after 10 years, trust me, I know that product range inside out.
Hashtag
Really
ad,
does.
hashtag spawn.
Yeah.
We've got, this is some sort of influencer marketing this has turned into. It was brilliant. Thank you so much. And the hallmark of a good partnership, I think, both of you, Paul and Shelley, talked about, I sort of pick up the phone. In a world where it's so easy just to sort of sling off a WhatsApp or the fact that you talk to each other a lot, I think, is probably the hallmark of a brilliant partnership. But thank you so much, all of you, for sharing that with us. It sounds absolutely brilliant. And we can't wait to see what comes next. So we go on. Even more people now. I said we're packing it in here. I'm going to hand over to Abby Sen. Abby is CEO and co-founder at Number 8. And Abby, why don't you introduce us to your topic that you're going to talk about and introduce us to your panelists as well. Over to you, Abby.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, James. Yeah, great to be here. And we're all waiting to get back into the office as well. So can everyone else turn on their video? Yeah, so we have Annalena, we have Mikhail, and Sam will be coming on. Oh, perfect. Wow, I really like Sam's background. It looks very retro. So nice to meet you all. I'm Abby, co-founder and CEO of Number 8. We're going to be talking about upgrading audio monetization with user-centric innovation. Hopefully we can unpack a little bit of this for you today. But before we get started, we have a pop quiz for all of you. It'll be a short 10-second audio clip, which you have to listen to and answer a question. And hopefully there'll be some prizes at the end of the talk. So here goes the presentation. Here goes the audio clip.
Here, and we drop the price of white bread, flatbread, garlic bread, granary bread, chocolate croissant, chocolate brioche, chocolate mousse, chocolate fudge cake, chocolate gâteau, mushroom soup, lentil soup, chicken soup, broccoli and stilton soup, sliced beef, sliced ham, sliced chicken, sliced salami, ice cream, whipping cream, buttercream, salad, price chocolate.
Okay, so that's the audio clip, and I would ask Tom to show the right options. What we want to ask is, which of these brands do you think ran this ad? And we'll give you guys a few, like 15 seconds to answer. Well, I tried to vote it. Unfortunately, I couldn't vote because, of course, I know the answer. I'd be a little bit biased, wouldn't it? So yeah, there will be we will tell you the answer at the end of it, and we'll reveal, and the top 3 people who answer, there'll be some prizes. I think that's good. We can move on from that now. So upgrading audio monetization with user-centric innovation. So I'd love to introduce, I'd love to ask everyone to introduce themselves. So starting with you, Annalena.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Annalena, product strategy lead for Octave Audio.
Mikhail.
Hello, my name is Michael Masinik. I'm CEO of Atonos, a platform marketplace for digital audio advertising.
Yeah, I'm Sam. I'm Executive Creative Director at A Million Ads.
Fantastic. Cool. All right. So just to set the stage a little bit, we want to basically say, what does user-centric innovation mean for all of us? We'll get things off the ground, at Number 8, what we think of, because Number 8 started with an audio background. All we wanted to do is that we wanted to build the best music recommendation service based on context. That was the whole idea. And, picking that apart, audio is a very unique environment. If you think of audio, because we consume audio when the screen's off, and the things in our pockets, we consume it all throughout the day. And that's why it's so powerful to always be thinking of the user first, because there's such an impact we can make into users' lives in every moment. And that's what user-centric innovation for us really means. Everything that we do, whether it's for monetization or for personalization, everything starts with understanding the user first. Sam, what are your thoughts?
Completely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, like we've innovated dynamic personalization for digital audio and video. We were the first to do it in audio. 6 years ago, we've delivered 6 billion impressions in that time, and we're learning it every time we serve a campaign. But for me, it's like not only just doing the first dynamic song or the first dynamic poem, all the creative ideas that agencies come up with. I always think back to a long time ago, showing my age a little bit, but in the year 2000, Jeff Bezos of Amazon had this quote that he said, if we want 20 million customers, so that was his goal, to get to 20 million, then we need to have 20 million stores. And that really stuck in my mind. But that idea that nowadays we go to Netflix or we go to Amazon and there are these huge numbers and they're all personalized to us. And just doing that in terms of the way that people communicate or brands communicate is exactly what it's all about. How about you, Michael? Shall I pass on?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't agree more with you. And as the reports show, well, millennials consume more audio than any other generation so far. And we can see, well, we can hear that the audio is everywhere and has expanded from radio, Walkmans and Discmans to mobile and to the devices. And I think that we are all immersing ourselves in new digital channels, even if we listen to good old radio, which has more than, I think, 100 years of history. So we do listen to any source, any content, any audio content on our mobile app or on a smart speaker. And we have made a journey from gathering up, listening to Pink Floyd's album in one go, as now audio is everywhere on demand. And I think that the radio and audio industry has learned a good lesson from what Netflix, along with YouTube, did to the television industry and puts really listener experience first. And so for us at Tonos, as a marketplace platform, our customers are obviously advertisers and publishers, but it is the listener we care most. And to be honest, when we started at Tonos, straight from the beginning, our goal was to deliver relevant audio ads to the listener. And then we investigated how the technology can make that happen. But I believe that in the Octave, the approach is very same.
Yeah, definitely. So for us, customer or user-centric innovation really means that we are mindful of the needs of our customers. And as said, like the listener is definitely also one of our customers, the same as the advertiser. And we founded Octave in March 2020. And early on, we defined our core values as trust and transparency. And we wanted to stand out in the market with our unique first data approach and our brand safe environment. And this all reflects in our product development. So it doesn't matter if it's a data product or a tech product. We always want to be mindful of our customers. And voice is a really good recent example where we have worked with partners like you at Tonos, WasLab or Say It Now to identify what the potential is, and then most importantly to test and try and see what the user behavior is and how this might change over time, because you can't almost do only one test and expect the results to be valid forever. And I think the other part is really also testing out formats and being creative within the existing solutions. And I think another question here in the panel we really wanted to answer is how new ad formats and creative solutions impact the ad and monetization. And I think, Sam, you are well equipped to go first.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we do with dynamic personalization, I think the benefits are to the whole ecosystem. So if you start with the listener, like the benefit of hearing targeted, personalized, creative content is pretty self-explanatory. There are deep psychological reasons why we like it. We like to hear about products that are relevant to us. We like to hear about contextual relevance to do with weather, where we are, which is our local store. All of that stuff is makes an ad more relevant, which we prefer as human beings. But then also the publishers like yourselves. I mean, from a business point of view, the monetization means you can sell that inventory for a higher CPM ultimately, because there's more value as that audience if they react to advertising better. And for advertisers, that's a huge benefit as well. So the third part of that relationship is to the advertisers having more effective advertising, having advertising that's flexible and ready to go and that can react to certain situations is obvious benefit for it. And when you talked about the voice sort of stuff, I mean, using dynamic personalization for things that you can talk to, you can interact with and discuss with the brand. I mean, that's just such exciting innovation.
Well, definitely. And as you speak about innovation, so first of all, it is just the first time in the history of audio advertising that we can have that interaction between the brand and the audience. So audio advertising was always a one-way channel since its origination. And I think that now if we listen on a smart speaker or most of mobile apps, you can have a truly interactive ad played as a first in a radio ad break, for example, and we can talk to those ads. So yeah, regarding to Annalena, to what Annalena said, we launched such a campaign with our friends at Octave for Audi in the UK, and it was the first such a campaign on radio ever. And it looks like things are going to change quickly, as some of the agencies report that that type of advertising, I mean, the voice commerce market is going to be worth $30 billion in just a couple of years. And if we think about it, I would say, well, they are very right, because there's nothing more native than voice comments. Do you want margarita delivered to your door in 30 minutes? Yes, please. Do you want, I don't know, 50% discount code? Yes, why not? So as in our campaign, this is our new car. Do you want to book a test drive at the nearest dealer? Just say, book me a test drive. So, however, one important point, we have to remember that our voice is our fingerprint. It is unique for every single human. So if we think about unique user identifier, it could be user's voice pattern. And more to say, all of those that have smart speaker are aware that those smart speakers listen to us 24/7. And this raises also some questions about privacy, and all the tech providers can, have to be aware that this is a very important issue. So I think that would be great to hear from Abby, because you run a mobile company that, and what does the privacy mean for you guys at number 8?
Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a very good segue into privacy. As we, with innovation, there's always a privacy question to answer, especially in this current zeitgeist, where if you had the same question 5 years ago, no one would have cared. But then the whole bunch of sequence of events that happen, whether it's the Cambridge Analytica, whether it's the GDPR issues, whether it's the ATT opt-in that came from Apple last year, it's just come a full circle. All of a sudden, we see, from our side, we see privacy as an opportunity for brands to really embrace it and really take, because consumers are becoming more aware. I mean, not just they are more aware of, okay, what's happening over here under the hood. So at number 8, what we've done is, from the very onset, we made the decision before it was fashionable or before it was something to talk about. We made the decision to do all of our context prediction on the device itself. What does that mean? So all, our devices have a whole range of sensors in them. So we do all of this on the device. That means no raw data, no raw sensor data, anything actually leaves the device. That allows the user to get the benefit of contextual advertising while not compromising their privacy. And that is very powerful, especially in today, because the mobile advertising landscape is being turned upside down because of this privacy topic. And it's something that I think brands should really see. It is an opportunity. It is absolutely an opportunity that brands can really run with. So that's our take on privacy. Sam, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I was being too good then. Noise down at the wind blowing. But yeah, the next question is about contextuality. So how does context fit into all this, and how can it amplify personalization? And I've got an example for this, because I think you can talk around it a lot, but actually to hear how advertisers use it, it's really interesting. So this was a campaign that we did.
Can I think, Ellen, did you have something to say on privacy?
Yeah, thank you, Abby. Yeah, thank you. Yes, I just wanted to add, because obviously at Octave, data is at the heart of everything we do. So we do have to respect privacy. And I think our approach, our USP, to come in with our first party quality, clean data, sourced on the owned and operated sites of our parents, Bauer Media and News UK. So having the logged in data from the Times, or like user behavior data from Parker's or Grazia magazine, is very valuable and very relevant when we're talking about privacy. And in general, and also to your point about contextual data, I think this is the second very important database. And I think we can expect more and more smarter solutions. So we're already looking or working with Permative to source like keywords, what we can do there. We're looking to work with you, of course, and with other providers, just to enhance and diversify how we source data in a privacy relevant world.
And I just like to add, from a publisher point of view, privacy is a very important opportunity as well, because you can really tap into your first party data. That is because you have access to that. So you can really tap into that and harness it especially because you have so many assets under play. You have all the different brands, amazing brands that I think we heard in the previous session as well. So I think you're in a very good place to make that play.
Cool. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry,
Yes. No worries at all. Now we'd love to hear the ad.
To be honest with you, what you were saying there about, you know, first party personal data is crucial to, like, from a creative point of view. We love that. You'd love to know if somebody is into motorbikes or cars or sport or fitness. If you know that and you can then tailor the creative, it's absolutely crucial. And for us, it is about balancing up, because I always talk about attention. Human attention is three things. It's either things that are a threat to us or a novelty. So if you hear a bang on the street or you see something out of place, that's going to grab your attention. If you hear something like the cocktail party effect, you hear someone shouting your name, that's something personal to you is going to grab your attention. Or for me, if it's Liverpool Football Club or something that's personal to your life, then that's going to grab your attention. And the third is contextual data. So stuff about the context. So is it raining today? Do I need an umbrella and stuff? And so actually it's about mixing those up. And so this final question, and the way that I wanted to play this example is actually all the data in this example is contextual data. So it doesn't rely on personal data, but the way it's written, the way it's delivered is designed to make the listener feel like it's a personal message to them. And actually, we got a comment in a publication because a journalist up in Glasgow was served an ad within a podcast. So I've taken the Glasgow route for this. But have a listen. Imagine if you were out running, you're listening to a podcast, and then this is the ad that you're served.
Under Armour ask, what type of person are you? The type lying in bed thinking of running? Or making today count and already 5k in?
The type that sees it's 3 degrees out, thinks, forget it. Or, it's raining too, bring it on.
Which are you this Wednesday morning?
The type making excuses.
Or out pounding the streets of Glasgow, fully kitted out in Under Armour Rush Cold Gear.
You give it all, we give it back. Get winter ready with cold gear from underarmour.co.uk.
Always nice to hear something, isn't it?
Absolutely. I can see Anthony Joshua cheering you on the side, but yeah, that's also there.
It is, yeah. We're doing a campaign with Anthony Joshua as a countdown fight, funny enough, with Under Armour. Yeah.
Nice. You know, I'll just tap on that. You know, that context piece is so powerful now because, you know, we've talked about having access to a lot of data for the longest time. You know, as consumers, even, you know, having access is no longer a benefit. It's more about, can you cut through the noise and give me something relevant for the moment? Because otherwise it's just, you know, we're forced with information overload all the time. So on that example on, you know, having an ad when you're running, but is that the best time to give an ad or just after that workout? Because when you're working out, you don't want to hear someone saying, but it's that moment after, and that's when context, all of a sudden you marry personalization with relevance, and context brings that magic out. That's both yeah. Or both, and it's just, yeah, it just marries those two. So that's why it's very powerful. Yeah. And Lena or Michelle?
Yeah, I wish we had more time. We for everyone else, for the audience, we just we got the notice that we have to wrap up. But yeah, I think I hope what we could really show is that there is absolutely a future, a cookieless future. There's nothing to worry about. It's quite the opposite. I think it's quite exciting. We have many data points that are absolutely within the laws, but also, as we said, they are respecting the users. And the best case is that they are talking or working with the user and make advertising a bit more beneficial and exciting for them.
Yeah, let me say just something from psychological perspective regarding the contextual or the context of audio. So audio as a communication channel is, in my belief, the primary source of context, because if we are talking to someone and we close our eyes, we steal all that, you know, contextual nuances of the conversation. And this is also why we use emoticons when we're texting to someone, to just put our words in the right context. And my CTO says that the artificial intelligence is as good as its data. It is very hard for ML or AI to learn interpreting the context between the data. And this is our natural human ability to learn, interpret, and to learn the context. So I would say that the context for audio as an intimate channel is extremely important. And the technology is here to provide all those, you know, contextual targeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to chip in the effectiveness, just because Sam also mentioned it. So we are obviously measuring a lot of campaigns, and we worked with the AA, and we have seen that well-targeted campaigns can work 6 times more effective than very generic targetings. So I think we have a lot of proof, and we're getting more of that in the future, which is also exciting.
Fantastic. I think, yeah, that's where you're sort of tying in all the work on identifying the right audience, the right content, and then content just closes the loops. You know what, this is that, you know, holy grail of, all right, let's deliver something for you that's relevant, and that you won't just close the app or close the service, but you just continue listening. So fantastic. Yeah, that was short, sweet. Hopefully, James, we gave you enough information to ask a few follow-up questions from the audience. By the way, for the poll, the answer was actually Tesco. The ad was 2012 between February and March, according to YouTube. So yeah, that was a Tesco ad. I couldn't have told. I mean, I obviously wanted to cheat, but anyway, that's a separate question.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you, Sam, and Elena, and Michael as well. There's so much to think about in there. We are really packing the sessions in, so we're going to move on. Thank you very, very much. And we're going to change gears a little bit now. We're going to go over to Kath Moroney, who is the Exec Creative Director at Red Apple Creative. And Kath is going to talk to us about how you win ears and how you influence people. So Kath, over to you.
Hello. So yeah, my name's Kath. I'm the Executive Creative Director of Red Apple Creative, and we are known as the audio agency. So day in, day out, we have writers, producers, sound engineers working on ad campaigns and audio content. So I thought today we would attempt to do our entire presentation in audio. One of the challenges of this, as I'm sure you all know, is that audio doesn't sound that great over a video call. So we're going to try it a little bit differently this time. And if you hover over the bottom of Zoom, you'll see a chat message, and there's going to be a link there. So if you've got headphones, if you can pop your headphones in, you'll get the full immersive effect. If not, it doesn't matter, it will still sound fine. And then I'm going to count everyone down. When you're finished, if people can just pop in the chat that it's finished, and then James, if you can give me a heads up and let me know. So if you can now click that link that's in the chat, and I'll count everyone down to press play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
This presentation is best enjoyed through headphones. When I first started working in audio as a creative writer, the demographic, or who are we talking to, box on the brief was vital for me to understand how I was about to tell the story to people. It used to be all too common to see target audience everyone, or all adults 18 to 60. This is the equivalent of asking creatives to stand in front of about 9 million people, or 2 full Wembley stadiums, 10 sold-out Glastonburys, and the population of Dundee. And asking that creative to make every one of those people feel a connection with a story they need to tell in 30 seconds. And this is how the generic audio ad is born. It goes a little like this. When you're looking for a getaway, choose the perfect place for a romantic retreat or family fun in the pool. Plus, if you're ready for a non-stop party playground, hen and stag do's get 50% off. It's one resort that has everything you'd ever need and so much more. Whoever you are, whatever you want. Sunny Sunshine Villa Resorts and Hotels, because life is better when you're on holiday. Although most of us can agree with the sign-off, the rest of this ad isn't working for the audience, and it won't work for the client. Thankfully, the ad industry has moved on. Understanding the audience insight is key. Instead, now we're seeing a very granular level of detail on some briefs. You might open an RFP to read all about Mike,
Mike is between 30 and 40. His household income is £80,000 a year. He's divorced with 2 kids, who he sees every other weekend. He has a 3-legged poodle called Heisenberg, which he named after his favorite TV character. Mike reads the paper starting from the back. He's allergic to dust, can never remember how to spell necessary, hates his brother, pretends to understand modern art and picks his nose in the car. He's an early tech adopter and collects memorabilia from the 90s.
Okay, that might be slightly exaggerated, but it's not that far off the level of information we sometimes get. But with so much choice in the ever-growing audio space, each channel of audio should be serving a purpose that it can uniquely bring to the table. It's about taking that audience insight or profile and then questioning the why of both the media channel and the device. Combining this with their unique targeting and insights to create something cohesive yet optimized for every audience and environment. So here's how some clients have leaned into audience, mood, targeting and device to win ears and influence people. Let's take the example of herbal essences. During lockdown, the nation was in a fearful state of mind, missing their lives and the outdoors. People increasingly streamed playlists containing nature sounds. So Herbal Essences created a 3D immersive audio spot driving to a Herbal Essences branded nature playlist. The idea and insight were simple, but it was the perfect way for the brand to show that it was listening to the nation and to give back in the form of audio content. And here was the result.
Music and nature each have the positive power to uplift your mood, feed the soul, and help you to feel connected in as little as just 13 minutes. So bring nature in and give yourself a boost at home with the Herbal Essences Nature Playlist. Click now to bring nature in with Herbal Essences.
Creating your own branded playlists or sponsoring existing playlists is the perfect way to align with how people are feeling. It shows that as a brand, you're all ears. Next up, let's look at device and how to combine that into the creative execution. Lucky Charms went for a campaign to help entertain families in different environments. The campaign covered the American and Hispanic audiences across audio everywhere, connected car and connected home with an Amazon Alexa specific integration. The chase was on to catch Lucky the leprechaun and his treasure. So when writing the campaign, we changed the creative based on the device. When the family were in the car, we created the sounds of Lucky running over the bonnet of the car. For Connected Home, we told the kids that Lucky had hidden gold in the house and invited families on a treasure hunt around their home. And through the Alexa integration, we asked families to access a skill to join Lucky on an adventure. Here's an example of some of those spots.
Rainbow zebras up ahead! Hello, trolls! Maybe the mermaid will help us catch Lucky! Join the St. Patrick's Day chase to find Lucky and his gold in the rainbow-tastic new Alexa skill from Lucky Charms. Just say, Alexa, open the story of Lucky Charms and start your magical adventure today.
You'll never catch me! They're magically delicious.
Lucky the leprechaun could be hiding his gold in the car right now. He's outside.
You'll never find me gold. Over the rainbow I go.
Missed him. This St. Patrick's Day, find Lucky's gold on select boxes of Lucky Charms cereal.
They're magically delicious.
Another thing we see a lot of on briefs is the word authentic. Maltesers have been leading the way with real moments for several years, and their latest campaign was no different. What Maltesers cleverly did was target adults and students during day parts and when they were trying to focus. The emotional insight and authentic connection came from the human understanding that even when we're supposed to be studying and focusing, it doesn't mean we're highly focused. It could, in fact, be quite the opposite. Here's an example of how Maltesers took this human truth to create light comedy spots.
Bold or underlined? Both? Oh, nah, too much. Is underline a bit primary school? Like underline. Underline. Such a weird word. Ugh. Okay, bold. Bold's a bit bold. Like, yeah, we get it. You're an essay title. Underline. Done. And now to begin the essay. First though, Maltesers. Maltesers. Look on the light side. Pan Macmillan also used insights on device to tell the story of their latest book release. Targeting ads when the majority of people were listening through headphones allowed them to create an immersive or 3D audio trailer for the book specifically designed for in-ear listening. And here's how it turned out.
Huh? No. Get me back to the ship! Mayday! Mayday! Can anyone hear me?
Space holds countless secrets. She just found the deadliest one. Christopher Paolini, multi-million best-selling author of Aragon, returns with To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Click or tap to get your copy now.
When it comes to music ads, Snickers made a big splash considering reverse genre targeting. In this case, they called out when someone was listening to a genre outside of their usual listening habits. They called it out with musical ads and ended with the message that you're not you when you're hungry. One way we looked at genre targeting in the past year was a message for the FDA. We targeted people listening to pop playlists and inserted a disruptive metal music spot into them, musically underlining the key message that metal didn't belong in the playlist and it didn't belong in their lungs, which was exactly what could happen from vaping. Here's the final spot.
Metal doesn't belong in this playlist, and it doesn't belong in your lungs. If you vape, you could be inhaling metals like nickel, lead, and chromium that can be toxic for your lungs. Know the real cost of vapes at what'sinavape.com. Brought to you by the FDA.
Obviously, we can't forget podcasts when we're thinking about audio strategy. At Red Apple, we create a lot of campaigns that go across music and podcasts. Depending on the targeting, we change the creative. When we understand the interests of the listener, for example, if we're going across sporting podcasts, we take this into consideration when we form the idea. Now with the Spotify Audience Network, we often write spots that will be going across multiple types of podcast. So it doesn't make sense in terms of ROI to change the style for every type of podcast that it could be placed in. These spots will typically use a voiceover rather than a host read. So in this case, we try to mirror the host chat style of a podcast. They're one voice, super conversational, and their job is to fit seamlessly into the talk format. We veer away from overly complex sound design or anything that could be too jarring. Here's an example of how these spots sound.
This episode is brought to you by Allbirds Tree Dashers. The new Allbirds Tree Dasher is a truly sustainable running shoe made from natural materials like eucalyptus fibre and merino wool. Designed for comfort and flexibility to help you run towards a better future and your fitness goals, like a graceful gazelle in superior performance shoes. Run hard and tread light on the planet with Allbirds Tree Dashers. Find your pair today at allbirds.com.
Finally, a key aspect to tapping into mood authentically is to recognise the challenges of the platform you're running on. IKEA recognised that people on the free Spotify tier listening to ambient playlists to get their children off to sleep would often have loud ads crashing into the moment. So they bought targeted ads across the most popular baby sleep playlists on Spotify, and with the classic IKEA humour, they showed their understanding of the needs of their audience for a quieter spot. And here was the result.
And I'm whispering so your baby can sleep. So soothing. Not loud, Sally kitchen ads. Why do they make me yell all the time? But you're still up. What a pain in the neck. You know how to deal with the pain in the neck. Ergonomic pillow. Whoosh. Don't mind me. Get the mattress from IKEA.
Hopefully these examples have inspired you today to think about how to combine demographic and audience profile with emotional insights, targeting across genre, interests, moments and device, and considering the unique offering and challenges of each audio platform to create a robust audio campaign. This is the best way to give brands and creatives a fighting chance of winning ears and influencing people. That's it from us here at Red Apple Creative. Enjoy the rest of Audio Week, and thanks for listening.
So I really hope that worked. And I hope people enjoyed the quality. I think one of the things at Red Apple is, you know, coming from that creative perspective, it's been a real challenge for us to play high quality audio over any of our video calls. So we decided to make that presentation. Hopefully you've all linked out and had a listen. We'll leave it up for a short while if you want to go back and listen in headphones, if you've forgotten your headphones, and that's pretty much it from us.
Kath, that was amazing. I was very deeply immersed there, actually. And if you didn't get to listen to it with headphones, the Pam Macmillan example is amazing. The 3D audio, you should definitely listen to it back. I think the one thing for me is just how important those insights are, like the IKEA example, the whole, you know, you're not you when you're hungry, but really the brief is as good as the insight either that you get or that, you know, you guys can help unearth. But and I love it. I love this format, this workshop format in all the weeks we do, because we get to talk about the amazing work, and what better way than to listen to it. So that was amazing. Thank you so much, Kath.
Thanks, James.
So for our final session, we've heard about loads of stuff. We've heard about creative examples. We've talked about innovation. We've heard about partnerships. We're going to talk about HFSS now, and this is a topic that the IAB has been talking about for a long time, and wrestling with, and in lots of consultation with government on where we thought we were going to end up. But in all of those things, there is opportunity, and Amanda DeMarco from Veritonic is going to talk to us about the opportunity, and specifically in audio, where it may not be possible for certain brands to advertise in display. There may in fact be an opportunity in audio. So let me hand over to Amanda, who is going to take you through their research relating to it.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. I was about to say good morning, but that's just for me. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to share my screen here, so just give me 1 minute while we load. All right. You know, this is a really big topic here. And as James alluded to, there's a lot of restrictions that the government will put into place. And there's also makes challenges to do business as what would seem normal. So as you are all trying to understand what's your next route, what's the strategy to go beyond this high in fat, sugar, and salt branded opportunity, right? Limiting display before 9 p.m. on TV, on digital. What is the right way to pursue forward? And I was actually curious about how many of folks out there actually agree that this is going to be a positive impact on their children, on those that are most influenced. And, you know, it's right down the middle. 40% agree that the regulation should be in place, but yet almost an equal percent disagree. So what does that mean for brands, and how does this allow a painted path forward that's going to be most impactful for the millions of dollars in investment that go into an advertisement strategy? And, you know, what's really, I think, ironic about this altogether is there's still about 80% of households that have children that eat fast food 1 or more times a week. So big market. And how do you continue forward? Right. But there's exceptions. And that's where audio is so influential and so important, because this is the way for brands to move down and really have an opportunity to get into the ears of others, to be a positive influence in the market. So honing down on radio, on podcasting, on streaming audio is really the logical place to turn. And the best part of it is audio is extremely effective and impactful. And we're starting to see so much of this with the transition into audio and the focus of sonic branding with these immersive, amazing sounds that, you know, all these folks are making that you've heard earlier on this webinar. And, you know, when we look back at it, you know, asking the subjective question, do you think your kids are influenced by what they see and what they hear on TV? And, you know, yes and no. You know, a lot of folks, a lot of parents think kids can be influenced by television, by visual impact. But also far few, 18 percentage points less actually think that audio is going to influence their children. So, you know, is it for adult ears? Is it for their children's ears? How can it be fully inclusive? So how do you go to market safely, right? And feeling confident that what that audio in the marketplace is going to be the most positive impact for not only your brand, but for the ears out there, whether you're new into an audio strategy, whether you are an audio expert, right? Knowing before you go, specifically walking around and teetering around these regulations that are becoming in place is going to be a very important question. And that's really the beauty of data. And that's the beauty of Veritonic as well, is it allows you a fully immersive opportunity to get in there and understand from the beginning, from a strategy perspective of what are others saying out there that you can ladder up to, effectively testing pre-market, in-market, knowing before you go through creative insights, and of course, a round out of campaign performance. And that's what Veritonic really allows any brand, platform, and agency to understand with hardcore data, the opportunity and the impact of that audio. And this is, collected 6+ years of historical scoring and benchmarking opportunities within the Veritonic platform. And are really here to help all brands, and again, brands, agencies, platforms, have that knowledgeable foot forward of what is the safest and most impactful way to get into the marketplace. And of course, we have so many best practices out there that any particular objective is going to be super important to understand. What is that message? What are you trying to accomplish? That may teeter so many different variables within creative, right? You have music, you have voiceovers, you have your actual script points. All of them pull different levers, and we can present a handful of best practices, right? There's certain things that are going to be most efficient and should be followed day in and day out. Things like brand early and often, say your name quickly so folks know that that is you. Example from the Tesco brand ad that we just saw. It played for a long time and you didn't know right away that it could be a Tesco ad. Use sonic branding if you have it, especially now as we turn to audio, and there's so many different folks that are doing multiple things at once. Having your brand be consistent and triggered, with a click of a button, that is your brand that they are listening to, no matter what they're doing. Take full opportunity of that for that consistency. Stats and drive performance. How can you measure how impactful you are by certain metrics, saying X times better, X times faster, X million users, all valuable to be nuggets in consumers' ears. And then of course, don't mention your competitor, right? That advertising time is most impactful for you to get your message across. And of course, these 4 things, right, are just the baseline. So what we did is we ran a short study with a handful of brands that are going to be impacted by this HFSS regulation to understand what are they saying, what can they say, what is going to be most resonant from an emotional standpoint for recall, engagement, and intent from these key audiences, both those in the general population and those that are going to be most impacted. Those are the families with children at home. And we measured a bunch of key variables within that: ad length, voice gender, music and or sound effects, and of course, sonic branding. And there were some really interesting results. And Coke has, I think, been a leader for historical time, going back to the classic Santa Claus ads on TV, to what they've made a transition to in the marketplace. And this is not new to them, having restrictions on what to say and how to positively influence. And there's one ad, and I'll play it in a second, that just pulls you into that moment, right? That sound, that refreshing sound. And it outperformed. There wasn't much script there. It was an experience. We saw 2 times higher recall on that ad than all the other ads that we tested. Highly likable, relaxed feeling, pulling folks into that environment. And I'll play it right here for you to take a listen.
Give yourself a Diet Coke break.
All right, so short and sweet, but it hits you, right? And it's, again, we're talking about, I think, the very consistent theme of the webinar today is what is the right way to get your brand forward and highly memorable in recall, because brand equity is half the battle when it comes to advertising. And yet this still drove intent, right? Because I'm sure how many of you are sitting there like, oh, I'd love a Coke right now, after you heard that ad. So the other unique, question forward and opportunity is all of these fast food brands, even, the Cokes, the Pepsis, the Frito-Lays out there, are coming out with healthier option. And is that going to tarnish the brand perception? Is that still going to drive the same level and intent as, the core products that they were offering? So we looked at KFC. Standard family feast delivery versus an ad about their new vegan options. And I think this is a really telling comparison point of data. And what you're looking here at the metrics is our Veritonic audio score that's on a scale of 0 to 100, just to level set your eyes here. But healthy options and the messages that are brought forward, not only are they unique, but they're resonating with consumers as well. And I think this really unlocks a strong opportunity to be a brand and focus on the good. Mix in, some of that different messaging options without having to worry about any potential negative impact. And, you go across the board here and uniqueness is higher, likability, rather equal, honestly, at the end of the day, and intent even more equal there, for driving the likelihood to order from KFC. And, this begs one other question. If some of these other brands, these big players in the marketplace, are going to invest in audio and they're going to refocus their brands, there's some of these other players out there that already have a core healthier focus, like GDK and Wagamama. But what does this mean for them? These brands are arguably less known, have a lower penetration than the KFCs, the McDonald's in the world. How can they also make sure that they're going to be successful in their advertising? So, being present, right? Spending a little bit more on advertising. These are all easy levers to pull when there's a shift, right, under these regulations. But it's also important to know and to test for what's most impactful before going into the market, because I think these are really good examples of perhaps an opportunity to learn. And I'll play this one GDK ad. It's fun, but from the data, from what we found, it's actually not resonating as well as it could be.
Yo, it's from GDK. You can call them the taste bar blast notes. Got another hit and they never went away. If you like the Beatles, are gonna make a day. Crunch, crunch, so what do you say? Go try the crunchy doner. Trust, that's from your German brother. I know that you're gonna love it more than your mother. Ain't the same, it don't taste like the wubber. That food puts me in the mood, but I think I need a drink, dude. Sorry, I'm gonna be rude. Get the doner crunch burger, German doner kebab.
So it's a fun one. Right. But unless you're listening really closely, I might go over some folks' heads. And, some of the lower performance here that we saw, even against our Veritonic benchmarks, like the question of, what was the driver? And likability was one. The other, we noticed, was a very low intent score. And being a pre-intent score, what that tells us is the awareness is much lower. But the positive opportunity that we see here are these strong double-digit intent lifts. So once it's getting into the ears of the right folks, these ads are being impactful. So how can they be made better? And that's how data, and specifically all the metrics that we look at Veritonic, could inform tweaks and strategies or a pre-market test to make sure all is resonating. Right. So there's a couple other characteristics that do impact ads, right? Not only the music that we just heard, a clear script, branding early and often, sonic branding, all of those key nuggets that I talked about earlier, but voiceover. So many brands and folks have this library of voiceovers. How do you know who fits your brand most? How do you know who's going to actually resonate most? And what's ironic of all of these ads that we tested, 4 of the 5 top ads actually leveraged female voices. And this actually goes against historical norms that we've seen really in the industry here. Traditionally, many ads are driven by male voiceovers. There might be two voices where, it's male focus and then there's a female that comes in. But I think what stands out here is it's different, right? Sounds and ads, voices that are different than the norm not only can resonate and be a higher recall, but they also hit a larger emotional connection that we're seeing here as well. Specifically on some, touchy subjects during COVID, a lot transitioned to female for a softer, more sensitive approach. And we saw that impact in a positive light. Another element is music, and music and sound can play so many different roles, right? We looked at sound effects, soft music, loud music, fast music, rap music, background noises, that doesn't hone in on anything, and of course, no music. And again, there's a time and a place for everything, but if we can look at this from what sticks the most in this current setting, from what we test in this angle, we found that sound effects, going back to that Coke ad, actually really outperform because it brings you into a time and a place. Music also in itself, soft, was a lot of the tones that we looked at in the ads played, some louder music, but music in general also strategically and quite often outperforms no music. Now, I will note, this is where it's really important to look at the channel that you're advertising on, whether it's streaming and radio or podcasting, because those are very different experience levels where consumers do have different preferences. So even just not only testing your audio, but testing it in the proper channel, you will find variations, small tweaks to really understand what performs. But what we found here is just general background noise, something that isn't going to have a connection to the mind, or a certain move typically is going to be one of the lower performers along with no music. So again, all just interesting angles and opportunities to really test that creative before you go, to understand what's going to be most impactful for not only your current objective, but for the audience that you're reaching. And the last is length, right? There is an ongoing debate of, should I do 6 seconds, 15 seconds, 45, a minute? How can I max out, not only the time that I have to describe my brand, but also make sure that I keep that intention most in line and in check. And this was an example, and we see variations across industries, really tying down to brand awareness, brand penetration. So for an industry like such, where these brands are household names, we actually saw that the top performing ads in this segment on average were 9 seconds longer, or 9 seconds shorter than the ads that were in the bottom segment. So quite often when you have just reinforcement of a brand, you don't need a lot of explaining of what you do and what you have. It's around the benefits, the equity, the awareness. So in this example, again, just looking down this angle, shorter in this case is better. So if I can just wrap up, this was just a really quick approach and angle into trying to understand how can brands break out into audio when enforcing in regulations. And if there's anything that I can hone in here is that there is a tremendous opportunity here, not only with just where audio is in current day, but also seeing that the impact is positive, intent is positive. Ads are being liked, the recall is high, and specifically among those that are most influenced, parents with children are being impacted by this regulation. And I really stress to lean on data, because this is how before you go, right? Being able to take that opportunity to make small tweaks before spending that millions of dollars on impressions and finding out at the end that there could have been a small change there. And the last piece is be creative, right? We saw and listened to so many fantastic examples today of audio and where it could go. And these are just all fantastic opportunities to fill that gap of where visuals would prior. So if there are any questions, and I know we will be at time here, we are happy to reach out following the podcast as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Amanda. We promised insight. We promised best practice. It was like a 15-minute playbook. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. We do have a couple of minutes if anyone does have questions for anyone that you've heard today. But I should just do some thank yous before we finish. So thank you to Bauer and to Wix for talking about your partnership. Thank you, Abby, from Number 8 and all of your panel, A Million Ads, Adtonos, Octave. Thank you very, very much indeed, Amanda. Thank you, Kath from Red Apple Creative. We're going to record that. We've recorded the session so that if there's something in there that you want to go back and hear or share with someone else, we're going to make the recordings available. Or if you just want to send it to someone who didn't get to attend today, you can do that as well. And all of the sessions from this week are going to be available on the link that you can see on your screen, iabuk.com/webinars. That's all of the research, the real living research we shared on Monday, which is about audio behavior and ad spend in boom in the last 18 months. All of the predictions, if you like, and the points of view on the future of audio from yesterday, of course, this session. And I do hope that you'll join us for the Audio Week finale tomorrow, which is a very special edition of the IAB UK podcast that we recorded with Audio Mob, looking at the impact of sound and music in game. But for now, thank you to all of our speakers in today's workshop. Share the session, catch up with it once we make it available. And thank you all for joining us on what is a 28 degree day here in London as well. We'll hopefully see you for the rest of the week. Thanks again.